What's happening, everybody? Hope you guys are feeling great. I'm Team Kills, and what I like to do is make gaming easier. Now, Inaros, the Sand King, the Desert Armor Monster, or Mr. Mummy Man. Doesn't actually matter what you call him, he's freaking awesome. He has been changed recently. All good changes, but definitely different now. He still has one of the best moves in the history of all confrontations, kicking sand in the face. It's great. It's perfect. It hasn't needed been changed since the very first angry person threw the very first rock. It's classic damage. And it also happens to heal him or heal you. It opens enemies up for finishers, and this, by the way, might happen to be a finisher build. Second is his Sandstorm. It's similar but different. Now it collects enemies. It used to just throw them away. Now when it collects them, it does give them slash procs or slash damage. Plus the ability is timed, or at least it lasts for a certain amount of time instead of being energy draining. You can't just hang out there anymore. Now, I'm not complaining, but the way that I used to use his Sand Tornado, I kind of can't do that anymore. I used to use them every once in a while for high level interceptions. And when I cast that Sand Tornado, it would lift everybody above me, but I would still technically be counting on the ground. I could take over that zone, and those guys, they wouldn't count being there. It helped for when shit got real hectic. Wasn't the best way to do the level because I didn't really kill anyone, but it helped. So because of that, I swapped out his Sand Tornado on every build. It's still a good move, still a good ability, but I just don't like it. His third ability gives you more armor. Moving on, his fourth ability now is evil, corrosive, sentient sand, possessed by sand pussy. That's not what I meant. These sand clouds, they chew up enemies, and when the enemies die, they spawn sand kitties. Much better. Which these sand kitties, they actually cast more sand corrosive sentient. They continue the fourth ability. It's not eternal, but it keeps going for, well, a while. And now when you die, which you probably won't, but now when you die, instead of being stuck in that casket, shooting that laser beam at, well, the enemies that ran away because you're dead. There's nobody there. Now you can turn into a sand mummy of yourself and go and punch the souls out of other enemies, and once you kill enough, come back to life. It's awesome. Now, this video being a full build, that means I've got 3 actual full builds for you guys. I've got the sentient setup, or sentinel setup, weapons, parison, Tau Forge shards, all that shit. These are all technically my ideas, so copy them, tweak them, get inspired, do some, or do none. Completely up to you. Let's get to it. Now my first build is technically probably the best, but it's definitely my favorite build. I call it Sand Effects, mainly because all the mods I try to have, well, at least 2 effects, so when I'm doing something in the sand, something else is gonna happen. Now I'll start with Psychic, which gives me an extra 20% max health. By the way, the higher my health is, the higher the damage is on my 4th ability. So my Aura mod, Coaction Drift, gives me an extra 50% on, well, my health. So it's, instead of 20, it's 35% that goes, well, directly to my 4th ability. Sand Effects technically is a Saxon Carnus Junglist build. I tripped over that because I usually call it the Sexy Carnal Jungle build. But Inaros isn't sexy, and there's no jungle here, so I'm gonna move on. The Saxon Carapace, it does its original purpose. Its second purpose is when enemies are lifted, they're going to explode for 20% of their max health and damage all the enemies around. Now if you keep his original Sand Tornado, you're going to have a lot of enemies just exploding around you. It's great. Carnus Carapace has its original purpose, and it gives you a 20%, I like to call it slippery meter, for 4 seconds after doing heavy attacks. Now if you do heavy attacks in this build, I'll explain why in a second. Junglist Carapace, this is the mod that when you do heavy slams, the tentacles come up the ground and grab enemies and slam them around. Like I always say, it sounds way better than it actually is, but Every bit of help is a bit of help. A Mars Hatred does a bunch of good things. It gives me 25% armor, which also directly affects my arcane, which is arcane battery. The more armor I have, the more energy I get, which means I don't have to waste spots for stuff like flow. It also gives me a 15% ability boost. Well, that's just awesome. Not to mention, it allows me to teleport for 10 meters and doing my heavy attacks. This is one of the reasons why I'd be doing heavy attacks. Archon Intensify is going to give me an extra 30% boost upon its usual 30% boost for my abilities if or right after I do an ability that heals me. Well, kicking sand in people's face and stabbing them in the neck or wherever I choose to stab them heals me. So I'm pretty much always have that 60% boost. Now I also decided to use Arcane Blessing. This builds onto your health as you pick up health orbs. It will max out at 1200 extra health way before you get to the end of the level. Especially with this build, a lot of health orbs will be just lying all over the place. Now I swapped out his Sandstorm for Citrine's Fracture ability. This is another reason why there's going to be health orbs all over the place. This applies Slash to all the enemies that I hit, but in the sake of doing more than one thing, it also forces them or increases the chances of them dropping health and energy orbs. They're going to be everywhere, so I can prime enemies, blind enemies, stab them in the ass neck or wherever I want to stab them for extra damage, which heals me and makes me stronger. And it actually does more things than that. We'll get back, but just the power creep on this is crazy. We'll get back to that in 1 second. Inaros, the mean mummy sandman, has a syndicate mod so good it's almost unfair. Desiccation's Curse. I have this on my first and third build. I almost want to put it on my second, but I didn't for a reason which I will explain. Desiccation's Curse. There's a long readout on it. Basically, when you get a finisher kill, however you get it, whether you sneak up on someone, they're sleeping, or you kick dirt in their face and you stab them in the ass neck, when you get a finisher kill, you have a 100% chance to spawn 2 of your corrosive sand kitties. They are then going to go and do what they do, kill enemies and spawn more sand kitties. It's like a free 4th ability. This thing is awesome. The next build is very simple. It's one of those I don't want to die builds. I almost feel bad doing this, to be honest. It's kind of cheesy. It's also kind of perfect. Gloom. That's basically it. I didn't use Arcane Blessing or any kind of health regenerative things because Gloom, it's enough. Like I said, I feel like I'm cheating. I did use Arcane Fury for a little extra melee damage and Arcane Trickery because guys are slow. Just I have more time to do more finishers, and sometimes I go invisible and now I get some extra stealth damage to those finishers, just being an extra bastard. So I might have mentioned finishers or that this is a finisher build. This is why I chose the Kairos Prime. It has a really good slam damage. It also has a really good heavy attack ×2. It's great. Plus, I decided to put Covert Lethality on, which will burn 16 hits into my initial combo counter forever. Plus, it's doing 2 things. Plus, it's going to give me 100% finisher damage. Actually, that's 160% finisher damage because of these 2 mods. Also, finisher kills give me a 50% chance that the enemies are going to drop an energy orb. Also, finisher kills give me a 100% chance that they're going to drop a health orb. Also, my next ability after a finisher kill is going to give me a 50% ability boost, thanks to my parison, which also is going to stack with the damage coming from my archon mods. Not to mention, my damage and my counter is going to creep with every finisher kill because of melee crescendo. When maxed, mine isn't, but when maxed, you are going to get an extra 6 initial combo burned into your combo counter for the rest of the mission. The power creep on this is nuts. There is an 84% chance that an element is going to take forward, which by the way is Blast. Condition Overload is going to give me an 80% boost on that blast effect. The Kuvasir, the weapon that I lost $100 because, well, the original Seer was so bad, I bet the Kuvasir couldn't be any good. And it's actually really good. So Yeah, that happened. It's 150% status as well, and guess what? Blast and impact, but mostly blast. The Kuva Hind, that's a crit gun, 100% crit gun. The 5.9 crit damage multiplier, it's a pretty good crit gun, but it has an almost 60% chance of blast. The reason why I keep using blast is because I have 3 Tau Forge Topaz shards on him that are going to give me 2, which is actually 6 health per blast effect. It's going to cap at 450 times 3. That plus Arcane Blessing, it adds up to a shit ton of health. Plus, I decided to put 2 extra Tau Forge Azure shards on for, you guessed it, more health. Why not? All this health goes to my 4th ability. My 4th ability is going to get stronger as the level goes through. My pet Sentinel, he likes to do finishers too. It seemed fitting, so I picked the right mutt that could do the finishers. Patches, that bastard, and yes, it's the Patches you're thinking. That's why I made him an obedient dog. Patches, that bastard. He also loves health orbs. When he dies, Restorative Bond is going to, help him come back quicker. Every time I pick up a health orb, it's going to take 3 seconds off his timer. And because of all the stuff I'm doing here, there's going to be a lot of health orbs lying around. Tandem Bond is going to add another 6 to my combo counter for whoever he's chewing on. And if I do a heavy attack, he's going to get a 30% ability or damage boost for 30 seconds. Synth Armor is giving out 100% armor boost for 10 seconds when I pick up health orbs. I think it's for the pet. Synth Deconstruct is a 25% chance that whoever he's chewing on is going to drop a health orb. It makes it better. He's a good dog. We get along. Loyal Companion is proof of how good of a dog he is. Whenever my health gets lower than 35%, I'm going to gain a 75% damage reduction because of this beautiful mutt here. Well, it's not beautiful, but because of this mutt. And this mutt becomes invincible and will taunt guys, bark like a freaking rabid dog, and just get all the attention for 10 seconds. Give me a chance to, get my life back together. Now my 3rd build is Rest and Rage. I use Rest, so I shoulda called this the Sandman build. You could use Rage and his Corrosive Kitties. That's a viable build, especially if you're going for boss runs. That's not bad. But once again, I use Rest. I want it for more crowd control. It puts people to sleep. This, technically, it's an incomplete build. So definitely tweak this. I'm personally waiting for maybe 3. I'm personally waiting for a couple more Unperformers, but you can see right here what I'm playing with. You can see what I'm thinking about. This, out of the 3 builds, has the highest health. I'm mostly focusing on the 4th ability, which, by the way, you could scrap the Umbras, put in Precision Intensify, or use 2 Umbras so you can get some health and armor and Precision Intensify. Do whatever you want. That's all I'm trying to say. It's always your choice. But this is mainly focused on, staying alive, but mainly focused on my 4th ability. Oh, and last and probably least, I chose the Inaros School of Focus only because of the Stone Skin passive. It gives me and my operator an extra 200 armor, which for my Warframe goes directly to the energy. Thank you again, Arcane Battery. Now, I could use the operator's 1st and 2nd ability to make domes that strip shields and armor. Very useful, especially in what I'm doing here. I never remember to do it. It's a good thing, but like I said, I only use it for the Arcane Battery boost. Now, I am curious on what you guys are going to put in those slots. Are you going to copy what I'm doing? If you plan on copying my ideas, well, you're going to have some fun. If you got some ideas that are better, put them in the comments so I can have some fun. I would love the best. Whoever's using the best idea, that's the person who's actually winning. And that's all that matters, guys. On a quick side note, if you're using the Rest builds and you put them to sleep, and then you kick sand in their face, they just light out and they just stay there. I'm not sure what's happening. I keep forgetting to try it outside of the training zone, but yeah, this is some crowd control, like real Sandman shit. I've talked too much. So let me know what you're thinking, guys. Let me know what you might want to see next. Let me know what you're going to do in those extra 2 slots. And on that note, I hope this helped. I hope you join the team of killers. Become a killer of teams. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments. It's one of the ways we could talk. Make sure you keep it easy in life. And remember, just keep gaming.